Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Boyos Discuss, the podcast where we pick a topic and then shoot the shit about it for a while. This week, we're continuing the Spring of Swayze with 1990's Ghost. But before we get into that, I'm Matthew, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Ben and Other Ben. How's it going?
Good. It's going pretty well.
So, some basic facts before we get into the synopsis for the movie. It was directed by Jerry Zucker, who also directed Airplane, First Night with Sean Connery, and then Rat Race. So he was more of like a comedy director.
Yeah, I was really surprised when I saw Zucker. That sounds familiar. And he did, like you said, Airplane and Top Secret and The Naked Gun, which are some of my favorite movies.
Huh.
And they're all just complete screwball comedies. And this is a not super serious, but it's a much more straightforward tone.
Now that you've said that, I didn't recognize Zucker as a name, but that makes sense a little bit with like how the comedy handles a little bit in this movie. I could see it.
Yeah, so initially the screenwriter, whose name is Bruce Joel Rubin, he was worried about Zucker directing and making changes to the script. He initially wanted Stanley Kubrick to direct.
It would have been a way different movie.
That's a bit pretentious. I haven't heard of this Zucker guy. Let's get Kubrick, the greatest mind in American cinema.
But yeah, he was worried that Zucker would turn it into like a comedy. But after they had dinner or just ate together, they sort of talked to each other about it, and he was really impressed with how philosophical Zucker was, so he changed his mind after that. Had a budget of $22 million and made $505.7 million, and that's in 1990 money. Adjusted for inflation, that's a budget of about $52 million and a obscene box office of over $1 billion in 2024.
I think I read this is the highest grossing movie of the 90s.
I wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
After I ended it, I was like, that was a pretty good movie. It's like, but I'm sure it's, it did well for its. It made Avengers numbers.
Yeah, like goddamn.
So, some possible, when they were casting the movie, Harrison Ford, Michael J. Fox, Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, Alec Baldwin, Tom Cruise, and Bruce Willis were all considered for the role of Sam Wheat before Swayze was cast.
I think I could only ever see Kevin Bacon maybe doing this otherwise.
Yeah, well,
That's about it.
Bruce Willis in particular was on record as saying he read the script and he just didn't get it. He was like, "This is dumb. I don't understand." But then in retrospect, after the movie came out and was huge, he was like, "I was such a fucking idiot. Why didn't I take that?"
Bruce Willis ended up marrying Demi Moore. So.
Oh, did he really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Still got a smoocher.
Hell yeah.
So for the role of Oda Mae, some of the contenders for her were Tina Turner and Oprah Winfrey. But they ended up going with Whoopi Goldberg after Patrick Swayze advocated for her, which in my opinion was such perfect casting, because I think she nails the character.
She won an Oscar for it, right?
Yeah, I think she won Best Supporting Actress. Yeah,
I'm wondering if it's because of how she performed in The Color Purple. I know that was one of her, or maybe that was her introducing movie, and she absolutely I think that's her best performance of all time, and she has some really good ones. But I'm wondering if that's what made Swayze be like, what about this person who fucking just killed it in this movie? I think she won an Oscar for that too. Or I don't know. We'll see.
She's one of the few that has an EGOT.
Oh, is it the 3 or something?
It's Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony.
Jeez.
Damn.
So, what's y'all's history with this movie? Is it one that you had seen before, sort of growing up, or?
I had heard of the pottery scene where Patrick Swayze is a hot ghost. And that was about it.
I have a memory of my mother watching this movie and being like, "Look, watch this movie!" And it was, I remember just snapshots of the movie. I remember the demons that drag people to hell, because what fucking child wouldn't remember that? I remember pottery. I remember the song. And I remember randomly when Patrick Swayze is typing on Carl's computer and being calling him a murderer. I remember that. So those are the snapshots I remember about Ghost from when I was 8. I don't even know.
So it's a similar story for me. We watched it growing up, but it's one where I just had vague memories sort of going into watching it now. So I didn't really know what to expect. Sort of, I guess, on brand for our podcast at this point. It's one that's been parodied on Family Guy. They also parodied it in Community. There's like an episode where they do like a pottery.
Oh yeah, the pottery class, and it's like no doing the Swayze.
But so yeah, it's another one that's like super culturally prevalent, but I just hadn't seen in like a really long time.
Yeah,
So
with the budget or the box office return it had, it's making more sense that this is like impacted on the culture of the 90s.
yeah. So with that out of the way, I'm going to kick things over to Etherben for the synopsis.
The movie begins like honestly all movies should, with a shirtless Patrick
No.
Swayze.
Too fast, too soon. The movie starts with a jump scare title drop. Like, did you remember that?
Oh yeah, it just goes whoosh,
Fucking
ghost.
weird. Fucking weird. With a sting. And I was like, what? Am I watching a horror movie? So it stings its title drop, and then its introductory credits are like spooky. Like it's like a camera going through a decrepit, neglected building with like dust and curtains, and like I was like, is this a horror movie? Did I forget this was a horror movie? But the music of Ghost is like some On Golden Pond shit of like very romantic and stuff. So it's not like bad. The music was fine. It was just such a weird, like, that's something this movie keeps doing, is just like genre bending. And especially at the title, I was like thrown for a loop. I was like, what kind of fucking movie am I watching right here?
So on the topic of the music, the composer for the soundtrack, it's like a really bizarre choice for it. It's I think his name is Maurice Jarre. So he did like Dr. Zhivago, Lawrence of Arabia, like
What?
a lot of like classic movies.
Oh shit.
And then sort of later in his career, he did more like, I guess, broadly appealing stuff. But I mean, those are also
Lawrence of Arabia,
you know,
what the fuck? That's one of the best scores of all time.
Yeah.
Huh. Like, I don't know. I thought it was fine. Like, it wasn't bad. It didn't detract. It just
Yeah.
wasn't like, wow, oh, the Ghost theme. I gotta look that up later and play it. Like, it's just kind of meh.
So after we go through the titles, then we get to see a shirtless Patrick Swayze. He plays Sam, a Manhattan banker, and he's renovating a loft with his girlfriend Molly, played by Demi Moore, and his friend and coworker Carl, played by Tony Goldwyn. While they're tearing down old drywall and through rotten planks, they find a penny from 1889, which I guess has some significance.
I was waiting for, like, the Chekhov's gun principle, and it just never came back.
I mean, a penny comes up later, but they're just like, they zoom in on it so
And
you can
that's-
see the date.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk about it. Like, I'll elaborate more on my thoughts, like, when we get to the penny scene, but I really thought, like, there would be a correlation. But
Yeah.
anyway.
It's just an old penny.
Yeah.
Later in bed, Sam and Molly are discussing how death can happen suddenly. Like they see a plane crash and it's like, I can't, fly out to my business trip in LA. That happens all the time.
But Sam, you live a charmed life. And then they both looked at the camera.
Well, and even in the beginning when they're renovating the house, they're like moving, or maybe that's a little later, they're like moving furniture into the like upper floor or whatever, like a statue or something, and she's like very precariously like bringing it in, and he like grabs her and was like, no, don't do that. Like,
yeah. I appreciate that they're like, this movie is called Ghost. Like, we're gonna tease you with death until it happens. Like, it's kind of funny, kind of tongue in cheek.
But while they're also in bed, they talk about what they mean to each other, but Sam won't say I love you. He'll just say ditto when Molly says she loves him, which is a running thing through the movie. And then later at that night, Molly, who's an artist, which I checked, was like, yes, major, Wall Street banker is supporting his hack artist girlfriend. It's beautiful in its own way. And she's working on a piece on a pottery wheel, and then Sam comes in to check on her, leading to one of the most iconic scenes in all of American cinema, and honestly, just one step away from the classiest softcore porn I've ever seen in my life.
I did not think that it would happen this soon. It was just like,
that's
like
what
it wasn't even a
thought it was
ghost
at
yet.
the end. Yeah.
I did too. See, like later in the movie, like he does this possession thing with Whoopi Goldberg, and it's like a thing, and I thought that's when this happened.
Yeah.
But no, it was just like immediate. Like if that's what you know about Ghost, you can get 10 minutes in and find it. It's kind of crazy. And it's playing the Unchained melody, like it's the whole thing. And that is the most phallic vase making I've ever seen in my fucking life.
But it was so romantic.
It is very romantic. And they're like smearing clay on each other. It is very, very classy. Yeah, softcore porn, absolutely.
And I love the contrast of going from Roadhouse, where it's like just disgusting, like
you'd be getting full frontal right now if it was Roadhouse.
Yeah.
To be fair, I guess Demi Moore is a respectable actress, and we don't even know who played Elizabeth.
Sam is a little bit of a bitch, though. She's like making this big elaborate pot, and he's like, "How do you do that?" And just smushes what she made.
But he's hot, so we allow it.
It's true.
That vase wasn't going to pay.
But
for
don't
the
two
apartment.
hots, don't they negate each other? Like Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore? Like, should they cancel? It's like two magnets or something? Polarity? I don't know.
No, it's like when you tie two candles together, they just burn brighter. The next day at the bank he works at, Sam notices some irregularities in the accounts he's working on, and he can't figure it out. Carl offers to help, but Sam decides it's his vendetta to figure it out. And
that's the moment where they showed too much, right? Like, you know, spoiler. Carl fucking is like behind the shit, and I like you can pick that up from this scene.
Yeah,
and that's. I wish there was like a red herring character. I wish there was like his boss or something, and they're like when they're in the elevator. There's an elevator scene where they're like just goofing and being friendly and like being like, "Oh, I'm sick." Maybe they'd be doing that to like fuck with the guy they don't like at the company.
Yeah,
and say he's shady and doing shit. And then have him as a red herring or something. Like, something to throw us off of just immediately being like, oh, Carl's behind it.
Yeah, because it's literally like, there's like more money on this account than it should be. And Carl's like, ooh, he's golly, it's probably nothing. It's like, I mean, I gotta get this done before I, leave for the day. And he's like, oh,
you want to give it to me? Like, I could do it. Don't worry about it.
It was like very much was not
I don't know if I've
suspense.
Just seen too many movies, but it was just very transparent. Like, with that, I was just like, oh. Okay.
So later that night, Sam and Molly are walking home from a showing of Macbeth, which I thought was going to be metaphorical,
right, to be or not to be.
No, but like Macbeth is about.
Or no, that's Hamlet. I'm an ass.
Macbeth is life as a walking shadow, or if I remember right. But that's about like betraying people for power and like murdering them and going crazy from the guilt.
Like Carl.
He doesn't feel guilty.
Right, yeah. No, that'd be interesting. I hadn't even thought about that.
I know that Macbeth is like the cursed play, that people have died on it, but like, I thought I was going to be feeling real smart with my highfalutin liberal arts education and recognize the Shakespeare play, but it was just like, people die in it.
Well done.
But then they're being adorable in the way that only a movie couple can be, and then they're held at gunpoint by a mugger. Sam and the mugger wrestle for the gun when it goes off, and Sam chases the mugger. But, turning back, Sam sees himself covered in blood, being cradled by Molly. He's been shot and killed.
My God. I literally liked the camera work they did with that, because it genuinely shocked me when I saw his body. Again, I was like, oh, okay, I guess, again, they teased his death, but then it's like, no. So I was like, oh, that was really cool, showing him run, the way they introduced him being a ghost.
I also like that every time someone dies, like, they think they're fine, and then they look back and they see their body. So then Sam follows Molly to the hospital, and the spirit of an elderly man explains the rules of being a ghost. The living cannot see or hear them. They can phase through solid objects, but it's kind of weird sometimes.
So I have to put this in. I don't think this is what they were going for, but when Swayze like gets killed and he's a ghost, he has an opportunity to like go into the light on the street. And the street is like barren. And I don't know if you guys like grew up watching Mr. Bean shows, but the introduction there's like a spotlight on a street and he just falls out of the sky like onto the pavement and just like looks around with the light on him. And that's just like all I could think of when Swayze was on the street by himself with the light. I don't know. There's some Mr. Bean enjoyers out there that know what I'm talking about.
I think the Venn diagram of Mr. Bean enjoyers who are also listening to this.
You may be surprised.
It's a damn near circle.
Yeah.
So you can go through solid objects, and then good spirits get to go to the light, like Ben was talking about. And then those that die suddenly with unfinished business are stuck as ghosts, because most of the people immediately go on to whatever's happening next. Carl and Molly start going through Sam's personal effects at their apartment while Sam watches. And I love that scene where she's just like, oh, yeah, this was the concert to the JoJo Boys. And then Sam was like, throw it away.
Yeah, he's like, we fucking hated that concert.
It's like, but it meant so much.
There's like a thing of candy or whatever that he like half ate or something. It's like, oh, this thing of Rolos, and Carl's like, throw it away.
Yeah. It's also like when they show that he can walk through or pass through physical objects.
Oh, he like a person walks through him, and it shows like their
blood
fucking
vessels
innards.
and shit. Yeah, like that was almost unnecessary. They do that again later when he goes through a door, but then they don't, like, it doesn't go anywhere. It's just that, like, oh, I guess when you pass through something, this is what it would look like. It's just like a weird effect that they threw in for fun, and it's just like, why?
So then Carl convinces Molly to go for a walk just to get out of the house, but then the mugger returns and begins looking for something in the house. Molly comes back from her walk, and then there's this tense scene where the mugger's trying to hide, and Molly goes up. She starts to undress, but as mentioned earlier, Demi Moore is a classy actress, so she just is wearing jeans and a bra. It's not Roadhouse. Nothing will be. And Sam realizes that cats can sense the dead, and as beings that have no concern for human life, it only makes sense that they can feel their death. It's just how cats work. So Sam spooks the cat, it freaks out, and scratches the mugger's face, causing him to flee. Sam follows the mugger onto the subway, but is attacked by another ghost who can interact with physical objects, like he's just knocking stuff out of people's hands and breaks a window. Sam was really easily able to pick up the trail of the mugger again, despite getting thrown out of a train, to an apartment, learning that his name is Willie and that he was deliberately murdered.
I think, so talking about that, like, ghost train fight, I think I would have liked a duality with it where, like, it's showing what Sam and the ghost are doing, but then, and the flip side, it shows what it would look like in just, like, the physical world of just shit flying around and the window shattering and the people being freaked out on the train. Because, like, if that was happening spontaneously on a train car, like, that would have, I think people would have strong reactions to that. So I think that would have been a cool thing.
Yeah, like a guy has his newspaper just smacked out of his hand, just like, New York, am I right?
Right, and then the fucking, like, the ghost, like, smashes a window out. But then that's where they, like, cut to the next scene. So it's kind of like, there's a little bit of potential there that they could have done, but it's just a nitpick, really.
So one of the things I wanted to, like, give props to is, like, throughout the scenes when, like, Patrick Swayze is, like, watching people do stuff and he can't interact with them. That was something that I read he, like, sort of had to, like, struggle to, like, because, like, a lot of acting is, like, you're
reacting.
Yeah, you're reacting, and, like, you're seeing how people, react to what you're doing, and so, like, sort of rewiring how you think to not take that into account and just be like, oh, like, they, can't see me, in air quotes or whatever sort of thing. It was something that I think he, like, nails. Like, it's just very convincing,
I think everybody nails it. Like, I think it'd be really difficult to I think it's a really cool test of, like, your acting ability to be able to do this, where it's like, those actors were all in the room together, and Patrick Swayze could be yelling something, but all those other actors just have to remain neutral and, like, soft-spoken and remember their lines and, like, not get interrupted by what Swayze's doing. So it's impressive, like, all around, every time something like that is happening. Like, Swayze's talking to himself or to other people, but they can't hear him in the scene. It was cool. I enjoyed. It seemed almost like a stage play-esque kind of idea.
Yeah.
And Sam crosses the street to a sidekick run by Oda Mae Brown, played by Whoopi Goldberg, and she's just a huckster doing cold reading on grieving people, which I know she's not good in this, but if you've ever seen cold reading done well, it is close to magic. It's a real shame that's mainly used on grieving people to get money out of them, but it is just super neat to watch.
A spook show.
But she can hear Sam, but she can't see him, and this is new to her, so she freaks out. And Sam realizes eventually that she can hear him, so he asked her to go warn Molly, which she denies because this is new. She realizes that ghosts are real.
Do you remember what she says? She's like, "Are you a white boy?"
Yeah.
Damn.
Like,
first ghost I talked to is a white boy.
Yeah.
God, I love her. She's great. Oh my God.
Eventually, Sam does convince her because he just keeps on singing, so she can't go to sleep.
He sings "I'm Henry VIII, I Am."
Yeah.
And then they credit that in the titles or in the credits. Like, they'll say that's one of the songs they use.
Incredible. So she agrees that she'll warn Molly. She goes to Molly's apartment, and at first when she tries to reach out to Molly, she's like, "I'm front of Sam's, so Molly hangs up on her. But she's able to get Molly to come out by describing details like the sweater in the closet's too big. There's that picture in Reno you took, which they were the only ones on the trip. Molly is still unsure about it, and because she doesn't believe in an afterlife, until Oda Mae says ditto, which is what Patrick Swayze says instead of I love you. So then she gets interested. Molly goes to the police, and they don't believe her story, as Willie doesn't have a record, but Oda Mae has a history of fraud and forgery charges.
I feel like Oda Mae is the outlet for, what was the director's name? Zucker. Yeah, it's like the outlet of his like airplane top secret business. It's like, okay, Oda Mae's going to be the comedy relief.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it reminds me of like the first act of this movie, I feel like is the weakest a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like once he turns into the ghost, and between that and him finding Oda Mae can drag just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's the feeling of when you watch Seinfeld or like It's Always Sunny before Kramer or Danny DeVito are introduced, where you're like, this works, but it could be better. It's like throw in a fucking chaotic, like comedic character, and that's kind of like what Oda Mae does. So I appreciate it, and it does like improve the movie as a whole, having her in it as well. Mm-hmm. Also, I just like when she's like saying all that information to Molly. Like a dude sticks his head out the window. He's like, "Shut the fuck up!" And it's like New York,
and her like ad-libbing just anytime anything anytime she interacts with anyone, and Swayze's just like, "Stop!" Like you cannot.
So unfortunately, the police also don't agree to go with Molly's story because if this for the conviction to stick on Willie, it would require. One, it would rely on just one witness testimony who wasn't even there, which is kind of weak in the court of law. More importantly, it would require a criminal court to legally enshrine the existence of afterlife and a ghost. However, a year after this movie was released, the Supreme Court of New York stated that ghosts do exist concerning property law.
What?
Yeah, it's the Strambowski versus Ackley, or the Ghostbusters ruling. Let me pull it up.
What the shit?
Yeah, basically a guy said that this house is haunted, and if you say that, that can be legally binding because someone bought it and then tried to like renege on the deal because it was haunted. And they're like, you can't do that. So they brought it up to the Supreme Court of New York, and they said like, well, you said it was haunted, so if this person believes it's haunted, they're allowed to renege on the property transaction.
Incredible. Thank you, New York.
I had a buddy who was a lawyer who'd always joke with me that, like, look, the court of law can't prove that love exists, but we can prove ghosts are real.
Wow. And I like that the police captain is like a very, very young Stephen Root. He's just this guy. He's a lot like, he's my favorite kind of, like, actor that just, like, that you're happy to see. Guy? Yeah. Yeah, he's just one of those guys that is never the lead. Always, like, not the second, not the supporting, but, like, he has one scene or something, and you're like, oh, him. It's what was his character's name in Office Space?
The red stapler guy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's the guy in Dodgeball that has the mail order wife.
He's great. Angry. He's great in Boardwalk Empire. He's just fantastic. Like, I absolutely love Stephen Root. He was in some
Barry?
lawyer movie. He's in Barry?
Yeah.
Oh shit, I need to watch Barry. I forget the name of the lawyer movie. Damn it. Okay, anyway, I love Stephen Root, and it was fun to see him. And he's so young in this. I was like, what? Anyway.
So then returning to the subway.
Oh, wait, did we? I think we missed something.
Oh, yeah, we did. My bad. So then Carl agrees to investigate the address with Sam following him to calm down Molly. There it's revealed that Carl hired Willie. Oh, no.
What? Who could have predicted?
To steal Sam's account book and kill him. So he wouldn't discover that he's laundering $4 million in drug money.
That just doesn't seem like that much money.
I mean,
it's like a Dr. Evil level.
With inflation, that's $8 million.
I mean, yeah. I guess that's like just like reasonable amount of crime. Like that is, I guess, what crime. They don't do it all at once.
I could probably, in a major New York bank, you could definitely transfer that much money.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
And it's under an account named Rita Miller. Carl then breaks into Molly's apartments to steal the notebook, and later he tries to return and seduce Molly, which real aggressive. I guess Molly's in a very fragile emotional state, but he just spills coffee on himself.
It's fucking so slimy.
Like I have to take the shirt off.
Well, at this point, it's definitely not as fucking egregious as Roadhouse, But at this point, Carl is just full-blown Hitler. Like, he just has to be the worst character in every way now, because he's behind Sam's death, and he's going to try to sleep with his girlfriend.
So what I'll say is, like,
And he's dealing with drug dealers. Yeah, but go on.
I think having our point of view character being Sam, you know, who's seeing, like, how people really act and, like, what they're really doing, that would be, you know, something we wouldn't necessarily see. And you sort of see that play out with, like, how he interacts with certain characters, Carl. And I think it's interesting. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I just, like, I like villains that, I mean, like, I could see somebody like that existing. Like, it's not, like I said, it's not even near the levels of fucking, like, eviltude that what was this fucking name? Brad Jetson or something?
Brad Wesley.
Brad Wesley does in the last movie, but I was just kind of like, all right, I get it. Like, Carl's a bad guy. I know.
I thought he was, like, slimy, but still believable.
Yeah. It teeters a little bit.
It wasn't like, we're going to launder this money to buy landmines in an illegal war in Central America.
That's true.
But then, while Carl and Molly are about to kiss, Sam is enraged and knocks over a picture frame, and it stops the sexual tension-filled tomfoolery, and he realizes he can interact with the physical world.
Would Sam have watched? Like, if he was that upset, but it didn't stop it, like, would he have stayed in the room, just been like, man, what kind of fucking hell would that be?
Pretty rough.
Yeah, just watching everybody move on, and you're just like, damn, man. That'd be a different kind of movie.
So then he returns to the subway and convinces the violent train ghost from earlier to teach him how to interact with the physical world.
Dude, that was fun.
And he learns it's by harnessing his emotions. The only thing I didn't like about that is that he can do this at will now. Like, at first it's really hard. He's, like, focusing everything and it just kind of, like, pushes a can a little bit. And then it's like, oh, well. And then he just starts doing whatever he wants.
Yeah.
I really do like this scene, though, because you sort of, like, I don't know, you get a bit of backstory for that other ghost, like, on the train where he's, like, you know, like, initially they have, like, good rapport, and then Sam says something that, like, sort of, like,
what happened to you or something?
Yeah, and then it just all sort of spirals.
Somebody pushed me into the train. I didn't jump. I was pushed. And he, like, freaks out.
Yeah, well, and that's, like, I don't know, it just sort of is interesting because it's like, was this dude just, like, crazy? Like, what
it's
was
just
going
schizophrenic.
on? Yeah. So.
And that's, like, it's interesting that that opens up the whole realm of, like, maybe he can't move on because he doesn't even know himself
and know what actually happened.
To him. Yeah. And, but no, it was kind of fun. Like, I'm really glad that they put this character in the movie. Like, they didn't need to have a, like, mentor almost for Patrick Swayze. But I'm really glad they did. I think it added a lot of character to the world and to, like, the other ghosts around, because otherwise there wouldn't have been another ghost he really interacted with. Right? Like, there's a part where he goes to readings. We might not have gotten there with Oda Mae.
Not yet.
Okay, but she's doing readings with a lot of ghosts in the room, but Patrick Swayze does not interact with any of them.
Yeah, like, not really. Yeah.
This mentor ghost is the only one he does interact with.
Yeah.
And I made a note of what you talked about. Like, with ghost powers, it gets, like, superhero-y, and that's kind of goofy.
My note was that in any other movie, we'd probably have a montage, but I think the total, like, in-universe time that all these events takes place is maybe 3 days.
Yeah. No, I would have liked, like, to continue to take a whole lot of effort for him. I think later on the Penny scene kind of devalues, like, the effort and stuff. Like, being able to levitate things, I think, is kind of goofy. But I think it's a good explanation to kind of try to reason with ghostly reports. What does that usually mean? It means, like, things are floating or levitating, or things are falling and being interacted with. So this was a kind of a cool way to be like, oh, this is how ghosts do that. And this is, like, they're actually kind of, like, building in laws of physics, like, with ghost stuff. I appreciated it.
Yeah.
Sorry, last thing. The station they're on is 42. Like, it's 42nd Street, right? But there's 42s, like, fucking everywhere. And randomly, there'll be, like, really interesting camera shots that are very tastefully put together. And there's one where, like, there's all these beams in the station that all have, like, 42 on it. And it's cool scenery. But, like, the meaning of life is 42 from, like, Hitchhiker's Guide. What do you think? Am I looking too deep?
Oh, another thing. They had a poster for cats on the wall.
Yeah, they sure did.
I love how you're like, oh, 42, and I'm like, poster.
Well, I just kept seeing it. I was like, are they trying to say something?
Well, you know what? When we buy out the rights to this movie and we do a re-release in theaters, it'll just be the Boyos present Cats.
So I'll just say this now. We're a little late on that. Channing Tatum and his company bought the rights to Ghost from Paramount.
Damn.
And they're doing a remake of it
No!
starring Channing Tatum.
No.
So you're gonna buy it out and you're gonna cast yourself as the heartthrob. Nice.
Genius.
So we go back to Odame's shop, and like Ben was saying, she's a line of ghosts trying to use her to talk to her family because now she's a real medium. We also learned that ghosts can temporarily possess people, but it's very tiring for them. The rules and limitations of this are not further explained.
Yeah, and right now this is like played for laughs. So again, the movie's like very like Carl killed Sam and Sam is outraged and he's trying to sleep with his girlfriend. It's like, oh shit, the drama. And then like, let's cut to Odame and get some like comedy relief. Not a bad thing, but it's just sometimes like there's a whole lot of genres coming together.
So my thing is like, if it was anyone else, I think playing Odame, it wouldn't work. But it's so believable coming from
Whoopi Goldberg?
Yeah. Jeez, I can't believe I forgot. A senior citizen moment. But yeah, it's like it's just so believable coming from her, you know, that it doesn't take me out of it, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
So then Sam has an idea of how he can get back at Carl, and he uses Odame's old skills as a forger to create an ID for Rita Miller so they can steal the laundered money. And then shenanigans ensue. And this was really complicated, so I didn't type it out in the script. They like go in, and she tries to get a new bank card because she said that she made the account over the phone. And then wacky hijinks describes the next 20 minutes of the movie.
Basically.
Oh no, she signed her own name.
Yeah, so Patrick Swayze's like trying to play telephone with her and stuff.
And then she has to like keeps on stealing people's pens. And she tries to talk to this one guy to pretend that they know each other. Because, like, Sam's saying, tell him about the Christmas party. He was blackout drunk. He'll believe everything. And Odame is like, we had such a good time. And your wife, I hope she's doing good. And he's like, yeah, everything's...
Of course. How are your family?
Well, and because the other thing that's, like... They do a good job of like building tension in this scene when Molly shows up. Well, they're about to wrap up the deal and like she's gonna take the check for $4 million. And like that's when Sam like starts like knocking shit over in front of Molly and it's like, get out of here. Like, come on. Yeah.
So they walk out of the bank with a $4 million cashier's check, and then Sam convinces Odame to donate the money to local nuns that are on the street. Because one, he's saying, look, that's blood money. I was killed for it. It would mean a lot to me personally if you didn't enjoy that. And also...
it's drug money that will be traced back to you.
Morality aside, it's like, if they know you have that check, they will torture you to death to get it out from you. Just They wouldn't hurt nuns, would they?
That was an incredible cut, like with that scene. Like the second the nun looks at the check, she just like passes out into the other nun, and it's a hard cut, and it was really awesome. Like that was funny as shit.
So then Carl tries to transfer the money on the computer, and he starts panicking because he's lost $4 million in criminal money. And then Sam starts to haunt him. He's like moving furnitures. He's typing murder over and over.
This is the part I randomly remembered as a child.
Yeah.
But and it was specifically like he typed murder and then he was like, "Who is this?" And then he typed Sam. It's fucking creepy. Like I kind of wish there was more of that, a little bit of like him haunting Carl.
Yeah.
Like a bit because it's fucking creepy.
I did like that. They do show. That's what they showed on the train thing. They show like a normal person's perspective and Sam's perspective when the chair moves, because that's something that you see in a bunch of ghost stuff, like furniture moving, but it's just Sam like pushing off the wall with his feet. He's like, wee!
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's an actually really cool explanation. Like, it doesn't look unnatural when you see Sam doing it and when you don't see him doing it. You can see in your mind Sam doing the things that in the physical world you wouldn't see him doing, right? But because like in a regular ghost movie, things will type, things will move, all this stuff. But with the logic set up in this movie, it still works.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. I think that should be applauded.
So then, after he's done haunting him, Carl visits Molly to discuss the haunting. He's like, okay, I believe you now about ghosts. And she tells him accidentally that she saw Oda Mae closing down the account earlier at the bank. So then Sam attacks Carl. Like, he just punches him in the face. Carl tries to blow up the apartment by turning on...
Sam just... Wait, what?
Yeah, Sam just, like, bops him in the face.
Yeah, he starts, like, hitting him, and then, because for some reason Molly had gone upstairs to get something or some such. And so, and then he, like, is hitting him, and Carl, like, grabs a knife, and he's like, I'll fucking kill her. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you don't give me the money or whatever.
This is what I'm saying. Like, the previous scene where he's typing and moving chairs, that's good ghostly shit. This is straight up, like, this feels like DC. Like, DC has a lot of, like, ghost superheroes that can still, like, punch and fight crime. That's what this part kind of felt like. And it cheapens it a little bit. I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of, like, him, like you said, just able to do all this stuff now.
I don't know how hard it would be, but I would like if they put more, like, rules, like, you can interact with the physical world, but, like, you can't really do much to people because they're still alive.
Because something.
Because it would have made the movie, 45 minutes shorter, but if Sam had just, like, grabbed a knife and stabbed Carl to death, it would have been resolved pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. But then he'd go to the Hell's place. He'd be a murderer.
I mean, he causes the death of 2 people, but indirect enough that there's no...
He's the good guy.
Okay, he is hot. But Carl threatens to kill Molly if the money is not returned. Then Carl and Willie go to Oda Mae's apartment, where, once again, Sam terrorizes Willie. That one's a little better. Like, he's slamming doors. He, like, turns on the hot water and writes, like...
Boo.
Yeah.
See, like, and if he was just beating up Willie, that wouldn't be as... It'd be, like, goofy. It'd just be like, huh. So I like the more ghostly stuff.
So then... Willie goes running out of the apartment in fear, and he runs into traffic, and he's hit by a cargo van. He gets up unscathed, but then Willie looks back and sees his body's been crushed, and then he's dead.
I like that. Like, they got me again. Like, the first time Patrick Swayze, like, runs after, like, and he doesn't notice his body's gone. This guy, Willie, is, like, crushed between 2 cars, but his body goes flying. And I was like, why did his body go flying? That's dumb. But it's his spirit. And his body is still sandwiched between those cars. And I was like, they got me again. Those crafty bastards.
Damn you, Zucker.
Yeah.
But instead of going to a white light, shadows just come up from the ground and drag him to hell.
Screaming, wailing.
So the noise they used for the like hell ghosts or whatever, they took like babies crying, reversed it, and like slowed it down.
That's metal as fuck.
Nightmare fuel.
It's scary.
The wailing is like excellent sound design, because that scared me today. I was like, what the fuck?
So then Oda Mae returns to Molly's apartment, and Molly still doesn't want to let her in. Sam's able to convince her, first by giving personal details, like that's the dress I spilled a margarita on, that's the earrings I got you for Christmas. And they're on other sides of the door, so Oda Mae can't tell these things. And then Sam levitates a penny, which helps, because it's just magic at this point.
Yeah, and like, pushing it up against the door to move it up, I can believe that. But then he like balances it on his finger and brings it to her, and it just looks kind of goofy.
So the thing I was thinking about, like, there's a lot of like small scenes, obviously we don't talk about, but like there's one where she has the jar with like the old penny in it, and she like rolls it down the stairs and it shatters. So it's like, if you had that penny on the ground and he lifts it up, then that would have made sense to me. Whereas like in this, it's like, he's like, Oda Mae, took a penny and put it under the door.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like,
the whole time, like, a penny is relevant multiple times in the movie, but they don't put them together.
Yeah.
Which is just odd. Like, I was actually going to talk about that scene too, because it's so randomly placed. You could kind of put it anywhere in the movie. And like, there's random interesting camera angles. Like, most of the time it's filmed just like a standard movie, but like at the very beginning of the movie, the camera's in the ceiling when they're demoing the place they're at, and they smash a hole in the ceiling to where the camera can now you can see the characters, and I thought that was really cool. There's the train station that I talked about that had really cool framing. And then there was like, they put the camera at the bottom of stairs sometimes.
Yeah.
Like Sam is running down a subway flight of stairs, and it's like, it looks really cool when you place that camera really at the bottom of the stairs, looking up to the top, and you see somebody like starting small and descending towards you, getting bigger. And they do that again with just like Demi Moore rolling that jar down the stairs. So I was just like, these are weird, interesting camera placements. Like, I like it, but it's just so different. It's kind of strange, but I appreciated it.
So once she's let in, after they're let in, Oda Mae lets Sam possess her so that he can dance with Molly one last time, which was way more wholesome and romantic than I thought it was going to be. I don't know if it just got like corrupted through schmucky humor, because a lot of my pop culture growing up, I learned, was from Family Guy, from Robot Chicken. So they're just going to make dirty jokes. I thought he possessed Whoopi Goldberg and then had sex with her. Like, I legit, not like 100%, I thought that was what's going to happen.
I mean, again, we all thought that like the scene with the pottery was like with Oda Mae, you know? So it's like...
Well, because it would like... Because Patrick Swayze came up behind her. Yeah. So that would also kind of complete the illusion of like, I don't see Whoopi Goldberg, I just feel Patrick Swayze.
So Molly, and this whole time they're dancing and like being together, her eyes are closed, which I think is like a, you know, like a really smart decision. And like
I think I noticed that.
Yeah. It's cool though, and it sort of like feeds into that like, oh, like... Yeah.
But this was cool. A beautiful scene. I was touched.
It really was. Excellent. And like the fucking Unchained Melody has to be the most fucking romantic song of all time. Right. Like for real. And I got chills when they put it back in, because like they played it earlier in the movie with the pottery scene, and I was like, oh, I guess they're just done with Unchained Melody. But then like it's dead quiet, there's no music in the background. Well, you see Whoopi's hands, like it's a frame of hands touching. Yeah. And it's Whoopi Goldberg's hands on Demi Moore's, and then they go out of frame. And then in come Patrick Swayze's hands, and the second they do, it starts Unchained Melody, and I just got goosebumps again talking about it. Like, it is such great music placement right there at that scene, right when his hands come back in, and then just them dancing. It was beautiful, really.
Then, after this romantic scene, Carl breaks into the apartment, but Sam can't help because he's weakened from the possession. Carl tries to attack Molly and Oda Mae, but he's fought off for a little bit, which I saw that and saw, look at that, Molly. That's personal growth. Because in the beginning, when Sam's fighting for his life, she doesn't intervene and he's killed. But now, at the end of the movie, Oda Mae is fighting for her life and Molly helps.
Nice, yeah.
And Oda Mae survives.
I didn't think about that.
I don't think that was like a major theme of the movie, but I thought it was cool.
It should have been.
He takes Molly hostage. Sam recovers and knocks the gun out of Carl's hands, and they fight. And he's accidentally pushed sort of through a window, and a piece of falling glass falls into him and stabs him. Which, when I first saw it, I was like, wow, I was not expecting a gory death in this.
Yeah.
Then his spirit comes out, but is dragged away into hell by the shadowy figures.
So, I have a question with Carl's death. And, like, if this, you know, because part of it is sort of, it would be a little schlocky. I was thinking like, oh, the drug dealers are gonna come in, because like it was something where like, you know, a drug kingpin was who he was like funneling money to.
Oh yeah, if you lose that much money for bad people, you would die. Yeah,
and that's why I was like, I guess I saw it going in like that sort of direction where it's like they, you know, show up and are like, no, like we're fucking gonna kill you, you know, because that's what he's so freaked out about. But then on the other hand, it's like, I don't know. I think having Patrick Swayze like, you know, because he throws the thing or whatever at him, the, like, I don't know.
So Carl, like, there's this hanging
anchor,
pulley.
Yeah, pulley thing,
And he, like, when he's spooked and he can't see Sam, he just, like, throws that randomly. Yeah. And in Sam's direction, I guess, and it comes back and breaks the window.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's bad. It's just kind of what it is reminiscent of, like, very Disney villain death.
Yeah.
Like he causes his own death.
Like Frollo, he cuts off like the only thing he was standing on.
Or fucking Clayton is what I was thinking of. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of examples, but very Disney. Ursula from Little Mermaid getting stabbed. Yeah. Like that, you know, in the gut. So yeah, that's how it felt. The hero is like, like when it happens.
I tried stopping it.
I didn't want it to happen like that. And it's like, no, shut up.
So his work done, Sam sees the white light again, and this makes him visible to Molly and Oda Mae. He thanks Oda Mae
and is playing a fucking string rendition of Unchained Melody.
Oh my god,
fucking heart.
dude.
And he kisses Molly goodbye, and he says that he loves her, and she says ditto.
I love you. I've always loved you.
Ditto.
And then he says, what is the last line of this movie? It's like, it's crazy. It's like you take the love with you or something like that. And he goes into the light. And I'm like, that's a fucking beautiful line.
Not a polar bear fell.
Not a polar bear fell on me. That's how you end a fucking movie. That's how you wrap a script. Jesus Christ.
Are you sure you wouldn't want a director's cut of the mid-credit scene?
I want Carl's death to be by polar bear.
Of the Ghostbusters approaching Sam, be like, I'm not in the afterlife. That's because we're putting a team together.
No.
They could have made so
Bill
much
Murray's
money.
sitting in a donut. No. I really liked the effects that they used too. Like the demon effects were great, but also like the effect of when like it's not just going into the light because the I thought that looked goofy at the beginning of the movie. It looked like a spotlight with little sparkles coming down, and I was like, it's a little on the nose and a little, I don't know, kind of goofy. But then, like, when he actually goes into the light, it's very, like, kaleidoscope, almost like 2001-ish.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, Kubrick. No, I'm just kidding. But, like, it's very colorful, and you see, like, shadows of a whole bunch of other people, and then Patrick Swayze, like, blends into that group of shadow people, and it's just very, like, touching and spiritual, and it's like, wow, very nice. Like, those effects really worked in favor of this movie, and I don't think they look dated at all.
Yeah,
so
I agree. Yeah. So, with that wrapped up, what did y'all think of the movie overall?
This was way better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was really good. I did like it a lot. I just kind of wish, like, I think I've been watching too many art house, like, high art things. I wish it did more in the spiritual realm than it did in the revenge fantasy realm. Yeah. I wish it like that ending was so beautiful that I wanted more of things like that.
Yeah.
I wanted more interaction with the ghosts, between ghosts, and like talks about like the meaning of life and death, and like you said, Macbeth, the walking shadow. Mm-hmm. Like that's the stuff I really would have been here for. Revenge fantasy, I could go watch Roadhouse again. Like this was definitely better. But going in, just funneling an idea this grand and expansive into like, you know, ooh, that Carl. Yeah. I don't know. I wish it went the more philosophical route because they said that's why they picked that director and everything. Like,
yeah,
I wanted a little more of that.
But you didn't like Roadhouse? He has a degree in philosophy.
Oh God, yeah. If Dalton had died, this would have been a different movie.
So I think like a big part of why I like this movie so much, and it's not the best reason, is like coming off of Roadhouse from last time, you know, and just being like, man, that was like, for me, that was rough.
Yeah, it was bad.
You are hacks. The movie was great.
Ever since we came out with our podcast that said how bad it was, like I've been seeing all these articles and it's like, Roadhouse is just classic, campy fun, and it's great, and I love it, and it's perfect. I'm like, no, it's not.
So yeah, I watched this and I was just like, this is just an excellent movie. It's, you know, for all the reasons we've talked about, you know, throughout the synopsis, like it just, I'd say, because the next question I had was like, does it live up to its reputation? I say absolutely it does.
Yes.
It's a, you know, perfect, like, you know, time capsule of like the effects, you know, but like you were saying, they've aged so well. You know, sort of the timeless love story. You know.
Oh yeah, the love is strong. Like the chemistry is there.
Yeah. The
feeling is there, especially with that second dancing scene when he's ghost and it's like through Oda Mae.
Yeah.
That you can feel it through the TV, right?
Yeah.
There's only one flaw with this movie. Molly has the haircut of a 1010-year-old boy.
I know. What is Demi Moore thinking?
Listen, the 90s were a
oh
very
my God, with like the
time.
overalls and yeah, that was. I wanted Demi Moore to, like, I just wanted to see and I was just like, man.
So here's the thing, like, you have Demi Moore in this, you have License to Kill, Bond girl in that, also short hair, like, that was just...
Oh, I don't even remember her in that.
That was just the thing at the time, like, I don't know why, but
I don't know
that's what they were doing, so.
Yeah, and she was like, what'd you say, she's on the cover of some magazine?
Like Vogue magazine or People's, like, she's considered one of the hottest women of the 90s, according to the periodical.
Yeah. I don't know, the hair, man. The
It
hair's
looked like
rough.
a bowl cut.
Yeah, it's like the Fifth Element hair.
Yeah. So we already mentioned they're going to be doing a remake with Channing Tatum. I think we all are pretty clear that that's not something that we would want.
No.
But they have done. There's I think a like a stage musical version, as well as there's a Japanese remake that they did where it's the woman is the ghost instead. So it's not, it has technically, I guess, been remade in those ways.
Okay,
sort of
that
thing.
sounds really fascinating because
Yeah.
the idea of like Western civilization idea of ghost versus like Eastern civilization idea of ghost, I think would be a really interesting
Yeah.
twist on it.
So I guess, off of that, are there any other sort of final thoughts y'all have before we wrap things up? Or
Well, I heard Patrick Swayze's widow talk about him recently. I read an article and she was ranking his movies, and she was like, "Oh, I loved watching Roadhouse. It was so fun, and I loved Dirty Dancing. Of course, everybody does." But I was thinking, I was like, fucking Ghost for Patrick Swayze's widow must be the closest there is to a religious experience. That would be so fucking uncanny. And I was just like, damn, that would be hard to fucking handle. So kudos. I don't know. It's just, that was passing through my head at the very end of the movie.
Oh, I totally missed this bullet point. If you had to rank them, what would y'all's rankings be for the Spring of Swayze so far?
Top is Dirty Dancing because that's one of my top 10 favorite movies. It just fills me with childlike delight. Then this because this is just an objectively very well done and beautiful movie. Then Roadhouse because it's fun, and then Red Dawn.
You put Roadhouse? Yeah, you said that last thing. How about you, Matthew?
So for me, it's so close. But I would put Ghost at number 1, then Dirty Dancing, then Red Dawn, then Roadhouse.
That's what I thought you'd say.
And then Ben, you have it as Roadhouse, and then Roadhouse, and
Roadhouse. Yeah, every time you guys have given me homework to watch these movies, I've just been rewatching Roadhouse. I'm gonna have to break the tie, and I'm gonna have to give it to Dirty Dancing, I think.
No, and that's totally fair.
Yeah.
It is so close, but
Dirty Dancing's ending bothered me a little bit that it's so happy. I think I said in that podcast that it feels like a delusional fantasy inside somebody's head. But also I feel like Dirty Dancing just really at the end of the day had a little bit more to say beyond just what the movie was about. It's Baby also coming of age, and Patrick Swayze also being a character with a lot of layers of I'm not just a pretty face, I'm this and that. Ghost is so close, and it would be so easy to elevate it way beyond Dirty Dancing. But since it was just kind of at the end of the day, it was a little bit of a simple story that didn't make you think. There was nothing left for me to chew on, thinking on in this movie. That's one of my favorite things to do with movies. If this is your favorite movie of all time, it's a great movie and you made a good choice. But I like kind of puzzle movies, and I like having to think about them, and they mess with me, and I'm like, what was that about? Shit. Ghost didn't do that for me. I have to put Dirty Dancing a little bit above. And then I'll say Dirty Dancing, Ghost, Red Dawn, and Roadhouse.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for today's episode of the Boyos Discuss. If you enjoyed the podcast and you're listening on YouTube, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like the video and subscribe to the channel. We'll be continuing the Spring of Swayze next week with 1991's Point Break.
Hell yeah.
Anyways, guys, until next time.
Peter, we've had complaints from all over town. You're going to have to stop with the kicking.
Oh, yeah? I think my scary, otherworldly, shadowy spirit friends might have something to say about that. Ghost.